So, hi, really good to see you again. Obviously, we know each other already, but I'm Joe. I'm a headhunter in this sector, and I was inspired to start this podcast series called Formidable Females in Future Flight in order to encourage more women to consider this sector for their own careers. And it's a real delight to be here today at Volocopter HQ, actually in the office of Dirk Hock, which is very kindly lent us for the afternoon. First of all, could you both introduce yourselves?
Okay, thank you. My name is Aycan Mutlu. I hold the position of airspace expert in Volocopter for 2 years, and I'm working in the airspace and vertical team in Volocopter.
Great.
My name is Lucie Prinz, and I'm Chief People Officer here at Volocopter.
Brilliant. And just in case anybody in the audience is not yet that familiar with Volocopter, could you tell me a little bit about the business and what you've achieved to date?
So at Volocopter, we want to make the dream of electric flight a reality, and we want to launch our first commercial routes next year already with our two-seater Volocity. We're building a whole ecosystem of products. We have the Volocity, and we are working also on future next generation products too. They're backed up by VoloIQ, which is a digital backbone, and then they're complemented by vertiports, which is actually part of the way that we will introduce a whole infrastructure to run these vehicles and implement a new mode of transport in the urban sphere.
Fantastic. So it's going to be an entirely new industry. So naturally, you've transferred your skills to this from other sectors. Could you tell me a little bit about your own careers and what were you doing beforehand and how did you come to work here today?
Okay, I can start.
Yeah.
Thank you. As I said, I'm airspace expert in Volocopter, but before my background was air traffic controller and airspace designer. So I was a member of ATM World, Air Traffic Management World, before for 11 years. Now I'm trying to make this integration between these two worlds. UTM, I think we can call it UTM or U-Space for now as an abbreviation for the Unmanned Traffic Management System or U-Space Management System in Europe, but we are trying to understand the ATM world because it's not just about producing and manufacturing the aircraft. There should be a need for integrate these new type of vehicles to the ATM world. So it's so needed. I'm so happy that Volocopter and my manager have that vision in Volocopter. It's about my personal my focus area in Volocopter to integration of these types of aircraft eVTOL to the existing ATM world. So I'm using my background air traffic controller to make it so much like it's a toolbox ATM air traffic controller and plus airspace designer. So I can understand the needs and the considerations of the ATM world, and I know the needs and the requirements of our aircraft. So we are so fortunate to be able to these match in Volocopter. So this is my
perfect. Great. Yeah, I can see how important that is because like this new type of travel actually needs to complement and synthesize with the world that we've already got. So I can see how vital the work that you're doing is.
Yeah, it's really so exciting.
Yeah,
because I was working in a very protected world. The structure, the framework were so well designed, well protected, and still there in the ATM world. But we need to integrate these new types of vehicles to the air. It's like this is the classical aviation, and now we are switching to the future aviation, and it's really so sometimes so challenging but for me so motivating and exciting. Trying to be a part of these integration between each other.
Yeah, brilliant. And how about you, Lucie? What were you doing before this?
So I don't have a background in aviation at all, and I stumbled upon Volocopter entirely kind of by accident. My background is banking. I spent 10 years with the British Bank working in Europe and Asia, and it was really when I was returning to work after having kids that I was like, well what am I going to do? I lived in this area of Germany, near Bruchsal, where we are today, and I found Volocopter via a Google search. But it was very much as soon as I saw it, I was like, oh my goodness, this is such a forward-thinking, innovative company. I really want to be part of that. And I think one of the things that really drew me in was I really believe strongly in the needs to leave our planet a little better off for our children than we inherited it. And I think that that's one of the things that really works with Volocopter's mission to bring in this new mode of transport that is emission free and that is trying to be more environmentally friendly in that sphere as well. And I think Asian's role here just it demonstrates perfectly what you just said about marrying the old or the more traditional aerospace sector with the new. And we're so lucky to have people like you who are going to make this all work and make this happen for everybody so that this is an accessible mode of transport that works in the current infrastructure that we have.
I want to add one thing. Non, my personal view, not so much company in that new future aviation industry has that vision like Volocopter. So the first and the most inspiring thing for me is that I saw that vision in a startup when I started Volocopter and still because they are startup, I think.
Mhm.
So it's so not general thing to have that vision as a company. I like it so much. So it's
Yeah.
for me it was so challenging to switch that protected world to leave this challenging world. But I like this vision so much.
Yes, yeah. Do you feel as though there's anybody who's inspired you as you've progressed through your career and then made this transition into the future of aviation? Is there anyone in particular who really stands out in your mind who's supported you and encouraged you along the way?
I can say my father was working in the ANSB of Turkey. And when I was in high school, we had a chance to visit the air traffic control tower in Istanbul airport, Atatürk airport.
Mm-hmm.
And up to that time, I had no idea what's going on in the air traffic or in the towers. I just was thinking there were pilots and aircraft, that's all. But in that visit, I understood no, there are hidden heroes behind that thing. And I was really surprised and use when I see their efforts and their controlling power. They are all there enhance the safety of the airspace. And then after my university and master degree, I understood maybe it's a little bit funny, but I understood what I don't want to do. So I joined the exams. There are some exams for air traffic controllers. I entered that exams. I finished my simulation courses, theoretical courses, and then I became an air traffic controller for the en route phase and for the approach phase. After some time in the last years of my work in EHMI, I switched to the airspace design department and I witnessed another side of this ATM world. Mm-hmm. And then I saw these postings from Volocopter and I became really excited and I wanted to meet. And then in the interviews, all of this process, it was so exciting and interesting. And I was really inspired from their vision and it's very challenging. And I want to be maybe a little bit outside of that comfort zone. And I wanted to get this challenge for switching to UTM world or U space world, whatever for now.
Yeah.
So these are the very critical moments for me, I can say.
Yeah, yeah. And it's so interesting that you say that. It was back in your school days that you actually had that first influence. And actually, so many of the women that I've met in this series, there's one real event that kind of sticks in their mind that was the thing that made them interested. Was there anything like that for you, Lucie? I know you started off in a different sector, but is there anyone who you would say has supported your career?
I think I've been really lucky to benefit from a lot of support from a lot of people, but I was thinking about this, and my mom was always self-employed, and that was before there were startups, right? This was Belfast in the 80s and 90s, but she was always self-employed because that was how she could work and manage a house and manage kids. And so she kind of always brought me up knowing that you could do both, and I think my dad, on the other hand, he was always like, you can achieve anything you set your mind to. So I was always kind of given that really strong foundation when I was a child, which I think is a wonderful benefit. And I've had the opportunity during my career to work for some really inspirational people, both at Volocopter and in the bank. But I think the one example that always stands out for me is whenever I was stepping in to be CPO in Volocopter, which was about 2 years ago, I had a conversation with our chairman, and I was kind of like, I've got kids and this is a lot and managing it, and I want to make sure that I can really fulfill the role that you need it to be fulfilled. And he said to me, Lucie, because you have 3 children, I know that you can do this role. And that is just, you don't get that a lot. And that just really gave me that extra kind of layer of confidence that I needed to kind of step in and take this step and come into this role. And I think that's a gem of your company. So that's a great place to be.
Yeah, that's so nice.
I know.
Yeah, yeah. I know that this sector sometimes there can be slight imbalances in terms of diversity. And have you noticed that as you've built your career in aerospace? Have you found that there's more men, more women in certain jobs, or any other diversity themes that you've come across?
I think, I mean, we'll probably have different experiences in this. I think for me, in all engineering subjects at school, at university, there are more men than women. So I think you need to then translate that into the companies that you're working for. So I do think, yes, there is a predominance of men in the engineering areas. I think that what we do really, really well at Volocopter is cultural diversity. And we've got over 60 nationalities represented here. And that is, for me, a massive source of pride and a massive source of strength for our company as well. And I think it's really important then that we continue to encourage everyone at the younger stages to have this interest in engineering. But if we want to balance it out, it does need to happen earlier on. I think in children's lives, most children decide when they're 8, kind of, or by 8, what it is that they want to be, and we need to be having these conversations at earlier stages.
Yeah, yeah. Do you feel as though, because aerospace is a sector that is currently a little bit dominated by men, do you feel as though you've had to change your own communication or leadership style in any way in order to be successful in this sector?
I can talk from the air traffic controller perspective, because most of the time for me it was there. I can say, unfortunately, there is a real gap between the genders in aviation world. Approximately, I think 30% female and 70% male in UK, US. But I was maybe a little bit lucky because in Turkey it is 40%, but still male dominated, because in the administrative level and the authority level, the numbers of the males are quite high, the ratio of males. And I can add from my personal life, for example, I was the first and only airspace designer in Turkey. So I was the first, not first, but the only woman, only female in all these technical courses in Switzerland, in France, all of the areas. I was mostly only, and sometimes the first. It's so unfortunate, in my opinion. And because of that, they can be males, because they are the big ratio, can be a little bit skeptical about our expertise in the beginning. So it can be a little bit demotivated, but I learned time by time and not to stop my questions or to try to speak up much more, because after a time, that the initial time, they could understand your profession, your expert, your rationale of your questions. And I don't know, but female are much more principled first people, I think, in my opinion. We are focusing mostly wise of the questions. So after understanding this part, we can question all of the topics from every side, not so direct, just one focus area or something. So we have some talents like that, and we can bring these talents to the table from the female perspective. So I didn't try to be a male featured woman in the aviation. I achieved this, I think, in my opinion. I'm happy for that. And my recommendation would be always be yourself, do yourself best of yourself, be authentic in the aviation, and speak up always.
Yeah. Well, good advice in any situation. And it sounds as though you've really made a difference and actually found advantage in being the only woman or the first. And hopefully, having had the experience of working with you, that will maybe make it easier for other women in the future, because the men that you were around, next time there's a woman on that course, they'll think, oh, the last one was great, I'm sure she's good too. And hopefully it will make it easier for other people to follow in your footsteps.
I think it's a role for our kids also.
It's
our need. We need to do that for the next generations. I believe it so much, being a role model for the next generations.
Yeah, definitely. Well, I can certainly feel the level of diversity here. Having just had a delicious lunch in the on-site canteen, I can feel it for myself. I know that there's 60 nationalities under one roof, so there's a really high level of diversity here in every way, and people have moved from every corner of the globe to be part of this team. What would you say are the main things? Like, obviously, there's a really crucial environmental aspect to this pioneering work. Are there any other things about the like the culture or the uniqueness of this business that's entice people to completely change their lives?
Yeah, I think really with Volocopter, people come for the product
Mm-hmm.
and for the purpose.
Yeah.
We are at the forefront of this nascent industry, and we are going to enter into commercial flight hopefully before the end of next year. And I think that is a real motivating factor for people to be the first. And I think, as you beautifully demonstrated, it's about marrying the traditional with the new. And I think that what you get to do here is something that's never been done before. And I think that for a lot of bright minds in engineering and in other areas that we work in Volocopter, that is just such a unique opportunity that people want to come and be part of that. And I think for me, again, different to other companies I've worked in before, the company has one mission. There's one mission at Volocopter, and everyone can really, really unite behind that. It's not kind of divisions against divisions, and et cetera, et cetera. So I think for me, it's definitely the product and the purpose that attract people to come to Volocopter, as you say, change their entire life to be part of this vision industry.
Yes, yeah, fantastic. And then we've talked about how important it is to inspire the next generation, right back to kids in school, because that's when people decide, oh yes, I can do that, or I'd like to do that. That's interesting. That's exciting. Do you get involved in any of those initiatives locally to encourage different people and maybe even school children to think about this sector?
So we have a collaboration with a local charity called ZLab, and they run basically software developing tech programs for kids, and they're actually free of charge. So it's getting kids in at a young age, but it's also it brings in people from across all socioeconomic areas, and that's a local charity here in Bruchsal. And we had a group of girls here earlier this year, and we did some drone programming with them, and they were able to fly the drones. And we're actually going to welcome a group of boys in November, which my son is hoping to be one of. You're going to apply and get a place, and he will go through the process like everyone else. So we are working with them in order to kind of just give people exposure to this, and to let them come in and see what it feels like as well as being in an office space, to be in a workplace. Because I think, as you said, you have some of these moments when you're a kid that you walk into your workplace for the first time, it's like click, that's it. And we do hope that will then inspire future generations to consider careers or study paths in STEM subjects.
Yeah.
I have actually a funny example for that. We went to toy stores 2 weeks ago. I took my kids, and we want to buy a present for my son's friend. And I saw a box full of heroes in that toy store, and just one of them was female.
Yeah.
The others are all males. So these issues really starting from this age. We need to show them female pilots, female controllers in that toy stores, for example, to inspire the kids from that age. In my opinion, is also crucial and important. And I support this initiative very much. Thanks, Lucie.
I think that piece about school and working with kids, it's so important, because it can only be like a second if somebody sees a low-flying aircraft or meets a person that they can relate to. Because like you were saying about the mysterious buildings, you're never going to choose a career based on a mysterious building. But it's once you understand the people inside and think, I can do that's when you can set your sights on a really exciting career. It's been such a joy to talk to you both today. Is there anything at all that I've not asked that you would like to add?
I think, again, going back to kind of traditional aerospace compared to UAM and why people maybe choose it, I think, and people are kind of sitting on that question saying, why would I want to go into this? I think, just do it, right? go and find out and see what it's like to be in something that's exciting and is new. And I think there are really so few opportunities in life to really be at the forefront of something and really to write history. And I think that is what we get so excited about when we're working in this area as a whole. So I think that would be kind of a takeaway for me from today.
Brilliant, brilliant.
And maybe I can add, of course, we are so thankful for our families and partners, but it's a classical hit also. Without them, we couldn't be in here, but it's something else there. We should decide in our personal life in females. I think we should decide equality, first of all, in our minds, and then we should select the correct partners according to these decisions and correct companies to work also. So I like to be working in Volocopter because I understood that really we are all together believing this equality in Volocopter, and it's just a strong recommendation, but small, just personal. Select the companies and their future according to these decisions. They are so critical to our lives as a females.
Yes, yeah, absolutely. And I think to an extent, it doesn't really matter what the proportion of men and women is, so long as each individual person has that same inclusive and welcoming mindset, then it certainly feels as though anyone could feel really at home there. Brilliant. Thank you so much.